an intimate group.
All right, you're ready to go whenever, we're ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, welcome to the November 19, 2025 meeting of the Executive Committee. My name is Sandy McKee. I'm the chair of the committee. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez, and the meeting is called to order at 6:32 p.m. Reminder, you need to have your camera on at all times if you're not here in person with your name shown. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. If you're no one here in person yet, but they can raise their questions by raising their hand. If there's time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. CB6 Assistant Secretary Jerry Weinstein will take minutes this evening. And we will now take attendance by roll call. Jesus will conduct the roll call.
Good evening. When I call your name, please indicate that you are present. I will announce if there is quorum. Neil Barkley.
Present.
Thank you. Stu Desser.
Here live in person.
Thank you. B. Disman.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Fromowitz. I do not see. Justin Goldberg.
You're muted, Justin.
Present.
Thank you. Rupal Kakad. I do not see. John Keller.
Present.
Thank you. Katie Landa.
Present.
Thank you. Anton Malner.
Present.
Thank you. Alec Militek. I do not see. Steve Perez.
Present.
Thank you. Gabriel Turzo.
Present.
Thank you. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Thank you. With 9 members duly present, we do have quorum.
The agenda for tonight's meeting is reflected on the screen before you. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from the October 15th meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the October 15th meeting are adopted and will soon be available on the CB6 website. Our ground rules, no one may talk until I grant them the floor. Committee members, if you have a question or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand. Committee members on Zoom, please raise your hand through Zoom. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time, so the members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. And please don't use the chat. Tonight's agenda, chair's report. One thing that we've noticed is that we don't actually have a policy for email. And right now we're spending about $100 each month to provide email addresses for some of our past chairs, some people, well, I guess it's mostly past chairs. And we'd like to develop some kind of a policy for what to do. My recommendation is that we can use the money for other purposes. So one of the things is apparently we can have the old email addresses be archived, and I believe it's half the price. So that people, for instance, would no longer receive email at the CB6 address. Stu, you have a question?
Is there any reason that we can't buy our own domain? And it will cost a fraction. I mean, I own my own domains and they're what? $25 a year or something. You can get a bunch of email addresses with them. They'd still be covered, I think, legally as government, but by whatever the government regulations are. Most of us use private email anyway to communicate, even, board business. So $100 sounds like an excessive amount, and we could buy the same thing for a whole lot less.
We have a domain, the @cbsix.org is that domain. It's been in existence since before I even got here, set up by a former chair of the board. In theory, I guess we could set up another one, but then we'd have sort of, a couple domains going here.
But I'm sorry, you're saying that we pay $100?
We pay $100.80 a year for every CB6 email account that we give out.
CB6.org.
Yes,
Who owns the CB6? I mean, who's the provider?
it is a Google Workspace setup.
So we could transfer that domain to another provider and pay a lot less. I mean, I think we should, I don't think we need to discuss the mechanics now, but it should be that simple.
What was the introduction? Sorry, I feel like I could meaningfully contribute.
Probably much more than I could. Just that we are paying, for email addresses for previous chairs, and we also have, a whole lot of email that we're now archiving that we'd like to spend less money.
So I started looking into this, but never really formally proposed anything, mostly just because it fell off my radar. Okay, so I think, how many CB6 accounts do we have for like CB6? Like for you, Brendan, info, like how many are, I think those accounts are probably critical for like having high functionality and being usable and being in Gmail ecosystem.
Yes, those are 7, and I'm counting the 3 emails for our 3 staff. We have 3 general boxes for help, info, and VASA. We didn't change it when it changed to Vault, so we just left it VASA. And then we have 1 for Sandy, so those are 7. And they cost us $100.80 each a year.
Are you sure we're getting charged for those general mailboxes? Those aren't like aliases?
They are not aliases, they are
They're
getting
separate.
charged, we pay every month.
I guess you probably want that to keep it. Yeah, okay, never mind, that makes sense. Okay, so
There are 11 others that are, as Sandy has indicated, maybe not as essential. Either because they belong to staff members that have departed years ago, or chairs that have departed, in some cases actually departed. And then there are some that are still active.
So the context of why I was originally looking into this was wanted to see if what the possibility of getting CB6 email addresses for all members would look like. And I appreciate there was a constraint on the Gmail side of that being very expensive and that not being viable. So what I had what's exploring was setting up a second set of email addresses that would be on another provider. That you could find much lower cost ones. So you can segment and say you want the CB staff to have like the full functioning Google inbox, and you could have everybody else on one that's costing like, I don't know, a couple dollars a year, $2, $3 a year, $5 a year. You could either do that for making it available to the whole membership, or you could do it for how you have it today and just move all the people who are old chairs into the old ecosystem.
But that actually isn't the problem we're trying to address. It's more, what do we do with, how do we keep email? I mean, it's a bigger issue, but also, why do we need to provide these specific ones with this particular system for the people who no longer use them?
So like the old chairs.
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Sorry, I'm not helping.
Yeah. So,
I'll be quiet.
and I think B had her hand up. B.
Unmute myself would be great. So I don't think this will be resolved by committee. I think, Sandy, if you could put together 2 or 3 people with recommendations, you can establish a policy that if someone was a past chair, we keep their email for 2 years, 3 years, and that's the end. You can reduce it down to the 7 or maybe 8. I think it's more a question of what do we want the policy and what is our obligation in continuing to use to provide email to people that are no longer on the board for X years.
Or no longer chair, I guess is really.
But if
and-
you're on the board, do you get it other ways? So I think that's a different situation.
So do we have, I mean, really, that's what we're looking for is a policy that we can institute.
Are we legally required to keep these emails for a certain duration of time?
That is something we'd have to explore with the Department of Records, and I forget what it stands for, but Department of Records and our Office of Technology and Innovation. What I will say, there are some standards for things that the community boards need to be kept. They are very, very, very old. And while Doris, the agency, Department of Records, is looking to update them, I'm not gonna hold my breath. And in the 10+ years, almost 10 years that I've been your district manager, no one has ever approached me about this particular concern.
I'll be filing a FOIL request.
When they file FOIL requests, it's usually for specific documents, not necessarily emails.
But email doesn't have to be kept online as an email. You can just download it and retain the records that you still.
Yes.
You can definitely disable those, any old accounts and maintain access to the records, but just disable them as like license paying and receiving new emails. So the way, what our particular platform does is you can archive boxes. Instead of charging you $100 a year, they charge you $29 a year. But you don't really, you have to enable it again to go in there and get access to those emails.
Or you can just download all the emails.
With,
Then you gotta sort them.
yeah, someone's gotta then download them all and keep them all, and if we're not, unless you do it in a way that's meaningful, it's not. Who's gonna access it, who's gonna?
It just, I'm sorry, it seems very, I mean, I keep records for myself, I download stuff, I have a way to organize it and it's there. We have records, right, that we keep.
Yes, these seem like slightly different questions, though. The
Yeah.
question about who should have a CB6 email and for how long seems to like one question, and then what to do with old emails seems like
It's a different question.
Yeah.
Jerry, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just a couple of words more. I would imagine that folks that deal with compliance issues in the city government would have some guidance on this. I don't know any more than anyone else.
Yeah. Steve,
I don't see any reason why we need to provide email accounts to anybody who's no longer on the board. There's no
or
reason.
some of these people are on the board still.
Well, or but I'm on the board, I don't get an email account. So I don't understand why if you're not the chair anymore, you don't get an email account.
Yeah,
We,
Steve.
we will tell you why later. There's the third issue, though, if we're paying $100 a year for each of these accounts, we can just migrate to a different provider and pay a lot less to get the same service.
So we're talking about $700 to $900 a year?
Yeah,
And
it's not
I
inconsequential.
think the first step we can take is to say, if you're not one of the 7 people who are staff or the chair, that we're going to stop providing email for those people. I think that's
That sounds like a common sense.
common sense, and yeah.
That's what I would argue.
I think it's impractical and unfair to ask the office staff to migrate to a cheap and inferior email system. They manage a boatload of emails very diligently. I will give them extreme credit for. Putting them on like some cheap hosting platform is a recipe for disaster for them, both having to get set up on a new platform, getting organized on a new platform. I think that would cost us hundreds of dollars in like lost efficiency that wouldn't be worth the savings. I have a question. Of these people that have these legacy accounts, do we know how many are actually actively using them and have logged in?
I pulled a report and assuming it's accurate, because I can't actually peer into those accounts. It does seem like, all but one of them are are still active and used.
This includes former employees?
No,
Okay.
there are three former chairs that currently are on the board still and still have access to a cb6.org email account. And two of them seem to use it regularly, and one of them, it appears, has not logged in like 4 years. So maybe they won't miss that one.
It doesn't seem appropriate that somebody who used to be chair is still using their chair email.
Well, it doesn't say
Say
chair on it, it just says their name. So unless they're using a signature that indicates them as chair, which would be highly inappropriate.
Sandy's yours says chair, right? No, it doesn't.
Their signature says
Standing.
chair.
Oh,
Is there not a chair alias? Chair at CB6?
There is a chair alias.
Okay,
And
that goes to Sandy.
And I make it so that it goes to only whoever is the chair.
I showed up a little late, but from what I understand, it sounds like we're discussing these emails and these unused emails, and it just seems to me like we should just prioritize who needs an email. Not necessarily people, but role or position, and then just go from there, right? The chair needs one, you need one, Brendan, Brian, whoever else needs one, we work it, but individual people having board specific emails just doesn't seems like a recipe for disaster.
And, B, you have your hand up. And
Why wouldn't
Jerry,
why wouldn't we adopt the same rules, if I remember the rules, Sandy? That a past president is a member of the executive committee for 1 year? So why wouldn't you adopt that same rule that you have the account for a year and then you're dropped off? If you're a regular member of the community board, you'll get the mail the way everyone else does.
actually, in my case, I won't be on the board anymore after that for a full year. So,
But the term,
because of term limits, yeah.
but I
Well,
think,
but principle, I think.
It's fine.
is good.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do that. So I agree, this is the, what to do, we can archive, or I forget what the terminology is, but even those, at some point, we're gonna need to have to decide what to
But
do.
I also don't think a past chair should be getting emails intended for the new chair or the current chair.
And they don't,
Well, unless they're getting emails directly to them because people misidentify them as the
Right.
current chair.
That's possible. That's possible, but I don't,
I mean, I think the way to handle this is this common sense way, and I think the idea of using B's suggestion, but
One
since
year.
past chairs are recognized for a year, they could have email for a year. And then whoever is using this, it seems if they're dependent on it, let's give them 3-month or notice or something that it's not gonna be there. I mean, that's how I would handle, just give them some notice so they can inform people that the email address has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I volunteer to make a proposal or some proposal on policy as well as potential system solutions here? And I can present the next executive board.
right, that's perfect, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, let's keep moving. So John, is going to, take over now.
Yeah, could we put up with, the committee chair discussion? Three things that Sandy and I just wanted to raise. And one has been around for a while. We were talking earlier. This document, the committee chair discussion document, which I think everyone has had a chance to have input on. And, I think what we just wanted to do was say, hey, let's see what the feedback is, if any, that's new on this, and whether we should just move ahead with it and as a document, or if there's any further feedback, what that might be. I went through it, and I know that when I read it, it talks about setting agendas, talks about the exact full board. I mean, suggestions on preparing for a meeting of your committee, resolutions, running the meeting. This is all stuff that I would really have appreciated when I became a chair of a committee for the first time. And I just think, you know, unless there's some objection to it, I think we should use this as a guide. Or if people have edits to it, we should use it as a guide.
And hopefully people contribute from their experience, what.
Yeah, it'd be a
felt-
living document. This,
Yeah.
this version, I think, is revised on November 18th, which was yesterday.
Mm.
So it would be an ongoing living document.
Yeah.
What do you state?
Sorry, what is this? I've never seen.
Oh, yeah, I thought, was this distributed?
I think you became a chair after
Oh.
registration. So,
Okay, so I think
Same
the
with
first
that.
thing we
And
should
same with
do
Kate.
is make sure everybody has seen it. Yeah, okay.
So we talked about it, and maybe RuPaul as well.
Yeah.
We talked about it a year ago.
All right, so why don't we, the takeaway from this is that it sounds like, you know, everybody should have a second chance to see this. And then we could raise it again if for any comments or observations at the December meeting. Is that
Or January.
January,
We-
because we probably already.
It's a little holiday present for everyone to take a look at.
Okay, that's useful information.
And I just have a question. What is the purpose of this document?
My understanding is that it's, so someone takes over a committee as a chair. It's something that they could read, work through, and get a sense of what the job of the chair is, because otherwise we're just, at least when I did it, it sounds like when you guys did it as well, you're just sort of winging it and using a lot of, you know, word of mouth experience, and this tries to, and everybody could change, this should just be a living thing. I mean, it should just get changed. But it's not a.
There are a lot of details, procedural details, administrative details that when you become chair, you kind of don't really, you get thrown in the deep end and you don't know what to do. And so while the office and, you know, some more senior members are always happy to help, it would be nice if that knowledge were just in one easy to locate place. You can read it at your own time and, you know, proceed. And so that knowledge isn't lost, especially with term limits coming for our members in less than a year and a half. Us really archiving and preserving this knowledge is essential now more than ever. And as the first version of this document, maybe addition two will be even better, and even better still after that. If you guys have certain pro tips or things like that you think might fit in well, you know, suggest them, and then we'll see.
Yeah, I know when I first became a committee chair, there was just basically Molly Hollister and Ozzy Abadi were just telling me how to do the job. I mean, and there should be a more systematized way to do that.
I was lucky because I was the vice chair.
Yeah,
And I
That's
learned.
true.
and I mean, that's how it should work,
Yeah.
but we don't always, it hasn't always worked that way. Neil was parachuted in to parks, for instance. I don't know. There's a case where he wasn't even on the committee, but you know, he's,
Also partially.
yeah, so there you go. There's a couple people have.
Vice chair for like a week.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
had a whole week.
So, and you know, and it's meant to be helpful, so,
It's not like this is how you do the job. It's intended to, which obviously it can't do it, but isn't distributed. So let's put it on the agenda for January.
yeah.
Discussion.
And so Jesus will send it, you know, the link around to everybody.
The second item that we wanted to raise is the idea of committee handbooks for each committee. And Jesus, could you put up, and Jesus gets full credit for this document that he's already, it's just an example, and as Jesus will quickly point out, sort of a bare bones description of what Balk does, and I can only imagine that transportation and land use and Balk all have like 10-page handbooks, you know. But so what we'd like to do, and we just run through this, right? It describes a lot of things that I've been on the committee forever and wasn't even aware of, some of the deadlines, and it's just some very helpful information. And it's another thing that would be, you know, that would be expanded for each committee. And, you know, so what we'd like to do is ask, and Anton has a bit of a head start here from Jesus, but ask every committee to put together a handbook for your committee. Now, that's a lot of work, but the good news is that we won't be getting new members until hopefully April, but maybe not May. And then the appointment process for new members usually takes place over the summer. So you would actually have until the summer, August or September, to actually get this finished. Maybe we aim for June sort of thing to have a draft for your committee. Does that sound reasonable?
So the first document we saw is intended for
For all
committee
chairs, all chairs.
This one is intended for committee members. Okay,
Put together by the committee.
by the chair,
Right.
gotcha.
And then also would be intended to be revised,
Okay.
new ideas and new thinking.
And
So,
the board staff has already started gathering some of this information, so you'll have something to work on. But Rupal, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I feel like some of the committees, it's going to be a little bit difficult because it's not really as structured for all the committees, right? Like there's not, so for example, health, there are so many different topics that you're going to cover. There's never really a cookie cutter way, like with bulk, right? You know how the application is, you know what you're reviewing, you know what you're doing. I feel like that may not be something you can do for all committees. So some committees, it's just a little more
Well,
open-ended.
Rupal, for instance, for health, these are the hospitals that we have, these are your contacts there. We talk to the hospitals through this person, and that's gonna change. Because that person will change, but now we know they come once a quarter with some presentation. There's that kind of information.
Okay.
And I mean, granted, like, transportation, it's like, we deal with the DOT, here's how that works. Every committee is different, absolutely.
and I've talked to Katie about doing something like this for youth and education, and the content there would be, well, these are the public schools in the district, here's the information we have on them. These are the private schools that, have presence in our district, here's the information. Here are the regular groups with which we can or should interact, and it would just be but in that case, I think, Rupal, your point is absolutely right, it would be more of an informational piece for new members, rather than a description of in bulk, this is when this deadline is due and things like that. I think that's good.
So Jerry, I think your
Yeah,
hand's up first.
It just feels like we're capturing institutional memory. That's how I would call it.
That's good.
Absolutely, that's the
Very good.
goal.
That's great.
And Justin?
Yeah, are there other boards that have done this? Maybe I missed that. Is this is this just a CB6 initiative, or have other boards already done this before? We could, get some.
All the boards are struggling with how to keep institutional memory,
Okay,
so
yeah.
it's, yes.
Okay. Yeah, yes, they have done it, or yes, they're planning.
Yeah, or they're in the process.
Okay.
And I will say, I go to those borough board meetings, every board is different. So we'll have our own version of this.
Sure, but there might be like some places where there's overlap, where you don't have.
Absolutely, I think like every transportation committee is sort of similar throughout, like maybe
So
5.
Jason doesn't have to do infinite work for
You just take it, no,
So I imagine it'll be
yeah,
good enough.
I mean, and it's also a good time, yes, maybe to reach out to your, if you know someone on that committee and another board,
Sure.
it's a nice way to make some connections too.
Well, just a quick follow-up thought to that. It would be interesting to see as we build this out, how other other committees or similar committees and other boards, how they do things, because I'm not going to the transportation or public safety committee for CB3, but maybe there are some things there that they do that are really highly effective that we might want to consider or just even know about. So I actually think it would be good to have some communication with them as well.
I recommend it to go to other community board. I mean, they're all on Zoom like we are.
Yeah.
Not all on Zoom.
Or they're not.
CB3
Doesn't-
there's a lot of non-Zoom meetings.
But that's up to committees, I think, to try and reach out. I mean, the housing committee is doing that already. So, Steve, sorry.
So it looks like part of the template are things that are common across all committees. So like attendance, we shouldn't each be coming up with our own
No.
attendance. So is there like part of this that's just like everybody has this, and then here's the section that you alter for your committee? think that
Yeah.
would be helpful to have. It's like
Yeah.
a starting point.
I was gonna suggest that I think maybe we should solicit the help of the board staff in order to populate some of the standard sections, and then I think the committee chairs can populate
do
the
the
rest of
rest,
the
yeah.
documents.
I mean,
And just
hopefully,
because I detected a little bit of anxiety in people's voices, don't freak out. The office, especially with something like this, can hold your hand the entire way through. There's no rush, you know, we want to make a document that is good and that will endure. You know, we will not just sort of throw you in the deep end and expect you to come up with something marvelous, you know, just like that.
And sort of as a point of pride, I think CB6 has taken a role as a leadership across the borough, actually, and how some of this stuff is done by the board office. So, you know, we'll just find our way together as we do this in the next, you know, I would say between now and June. You know,
Because Rupal's right, some of these are going to be a little
Very
harder than
different.
others,
Exactly.
a little bit more obvious than others, and we'll work through all of that.
Mhm. And hopefully, we don't need to put attendance in there, because if you join the board and you don't know the attendance policy, we've got a problem.
Then we
Yeah.
have a problem.
You know, but I mean,
Then we have
yeah,
a problem.
the borough president needs to know that you have to attend meeting. Not only do you have to attend the meeting, you have to actually do some things for the board. So, yeah, but maybe, I mean, maybe that will, we don't need that in every single, yeah, but yes, so that's,
Two thoughts. Should we have one document with sections for each committee? And the reason that I suggested that way instead of what you have there is so that we don't have to have like sections that might be duplicative. So like you have a board member handbook, you cover like your attendance policy for the board on there, and then you have sections for each committee where you talk about anything that's
I
like
was gonna
specific.
make
to
the
the
same
committee.
suggestion.
I suggest we actually just do a board member handbook, and then we have separate ones for each committee, because,
Sure,
yeah, the longer, you know, people aren't, it's a 20-page document.
but then you don't have to duplicate content that's in the
Exactly.
board.
Attendance will go in there.
Right, exactly, and then you
Yeah.
only cover things that are
Yeah.
specific to your board.
Yeah.
My other comment, I think, yeah, this is a good idea. I had another thought too, specifically.
It'll come back.
Oh, yes, do we wanna put contact information? You were mentioning like contacts at schools, like, I don't know, I question if we want members of each committee
Yeah, contact.
reaching out to various, like, I don't know.
I personally wouldn't do that.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
But it could also say that we have a contact at, you know, and it is the
PS40
community
or so.
liaison.
I have an unfortunate suggestion, which is, do we need okay, so we have a committee chair handbook, do we need a handbook for the chair of each committee as well? Like, I think there is value in putting those contacts so that like the next chair of the transportation committee knows. Who with DOT the contacts are. Not even just a Rolodex, but it's somewhat of a Rolodex, but just like
Yeah.
chair institutional knowledge that you don't necessarily want in a general handbook.
Yeah, but these contacts change from
Yes,
year to year, month to month.
yes.
So if we have a minister contact list here that we can go to Jesus or somebody in the office, do we have a contact at DOT for X, Y, or Z?
As long as, you know, in the handbook, it says we have these contacts, contact the board.
Sure, yeah.
You know,
And I think the intention here is not to have some new bureaucracy put
Yeah.
in with committee handbooks, but just a summary of some basic information as people on board in a committee, I think it's not a bad idea. And then the idea of one handbook for the board, excuse me.
I would say maybe let's see how these work out first, and then we can see if additional variations of these handbooks would be beneficial, because we don't want to like sort of endeavor on too many things too fast and that's all at once. Because this board has never had stuff like that yet. And so we don't, if my experience rolling stuff out, the Reso tracker took forever to get buy-in. But now we're seeing that it's super useful.
Yeah.
John himself was searching for a 10-plus-year-old resolution and
10-year-old
found it on
Reso.
our tracker.
Yeah.
So it takes some time for buy-in. So maybe let's stick with some of these. And then if we find that there are improvements or additional things we could do, maybe at that point enterprise those.
And I mean, we actually do, we have a PowerPoint that we do for new members, that it's changed, I mean, I've done it for 2 years, it's gonna change each time, where we do include attendance and things like that, so. You know, maybe we just formalize that and give it out to
That
people.
was a starting point.
Yeah,
And see
it's-
where, because Jason makes is a good point. We don't wanna have people feel they have to create something to create something.
Yeah,
On the other
yeah,
hand,
we already
If
have.
it's useful, you know,
And Jerry, you had your hand raised?
Yes. Would we want to tactfully qualify this was the best way of connecting with a certain agency without being negative and saying these people didn't get back to me for 2 years? We found that this was the successful way of interacting with this agency.
that sounds, just.
Well,
Because sometimes that's really hard-won knowledge.
well, and maybe we just have to say that, you know, agencies are no longer, you know, have money to come and attend our meetings, so that it has to be a very important specific issue, and maybe there's another way to get the information, you know. Because I don't think that's gonna change. But
Where are these gonna live?
We're not that far yet. But if they're really, really, really good, maybe on the website. Or if we get very specific about things that are very specific to institutions in our district, maybe they won't live on the website for privacy's sake. But they will be with the office, and they will be handed out upon request, or for you guys, or as needed.
But do you see them as like Google Docs? Is that?
Google Docs is, we find it convenient given the platform that we're on, and because people can then collaborate. But we're open to suggestions, but
We should
we're not
talk
that far
offline,
yet.
yeah.
Is the language in these documents intended to be what we as the chair does as the committee chair, or is it just generally as chair of housing committee, we do XYZ, or as Alec, chair of the housing committee, does XYZ, right? Because I think each chair in future years and even in past years has operated differently.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I think. What you wanna capture is what has to get done. And on every committee, there's stuff that has to get done, you know? And then after that, it's gonna be quite a bit. You know, bespoke to individuals is how they run it.
best practices, as
Best
I
practice.
have found.
Okay, gotcha.
And-
Probably the best thing to do right now, yes, just whatever,
Whatever.
everything,
It's just-
and then we'll see what's there and what seems useful, and what, you know, what do you think a successful housing and homelessness committee member needs to know
Okay,
to do well on that committee, to be interested in that committee, to affect change on that committee,
gotcha.
and we'll see.
Okay.
And I think the answer is like today to be effective, and then like if that changes, and then there's a new chair, then that chair will update the document to be like, okay, well, this is how the committee is now working because it's changed.
Yeah, and I think on committees like youth and education, parks, and a couple of, health, that's gonna keep continually evolving, I think, as issues evolve.
I mean, parks, there's, how do you deal with landmarks? You know, what do we do when we get a landmarks, application? What are the parks in our district? There's, you know, those things are helpful.
That's the same thing with schools. I mean, what are the schools?
Schools,
What's
yeah,
the capacity,
what,
what
where,
are the issues, that's all
One of the motivations for doing this also is sort of a little bit to professionalize the board. I mean, we wanna make it clear that this is a city agency, and that you guys are here doing the people's business, funded by taxpayer dollars, which the community boards are. And so you want to have a good level of professionalism in how you do your work. It's not just a conversation club where you come and just talk about interesting things. You have to know something about the community that you're in. And it takes all of us to transmit that knowledge.
And I think the urgency here is, once you look at the list that Jesus has prepared of when people term limit off the board, you realize a lot of institutional knowledge starts to go away in 2 years. So, I think that's what gives a sense of urgency, but we also know that this is gonna be a, you know, sort of something that's gonna evolve, you know, as we do it, because but just knowing the chairs that we have on this board now and in the past, I'm pretty sure it's gonna work out pretty well, because it's a pretty darn good group of people.
Okay, now we're going to, I think that's it for that, but, Steve is up next with another task for you.
Unfortunately, yeah, I didn't realize there were gonna be so many tasks handed out at this meeting. But in the spirit of institutionalizing and professionalizing the board, we want to try this year to formalize the process for the needs statements that we have to submit. This doesn't obviously apply to every single committee, but it does to most committees, and that is, along with the budget requests, we have a needs statement that gets submitted to the city agencies. So what we'd like to do is to ask that between now and May, that you review that needs, you assign a point person, someone on your committee, or maybe two people, but not the entire committee, because that's not gonna how it's like doing a resolution, right? You assign one or two people to work on it and bring that to a committee meeting. So Jesus has developed a template that it's in the form of a resolution. So it will be a template that sort of says, we resolve that these are the needs, and then you paste in the need statement, and then everybody can see what's there, and then they can agree or not, and you sort of vote on it. It doesn't have to go to full board, but as long as you take a vote in the committee that everyone's sort of in agreement, sort of legitimizes the needs statement. And what we'd like to have that be done before May, so that, because October is too late, we have no meetings during the summer, and then we're scrambling with budget requests in the fall. So if you can get it done by May, just set aside one of your committee meetings to have it be an agenda item, and submit it and vote on it, so that we can then kind of submit an updated needs statement. And I think the struggle has been, there's just nobody been assigned or attention put on it. If, however, the other struggle is, I don't know where to find the information, then reach out for help. And there's also in the template itself a lot of links to resources and data sets and other things that are relevant to each section. So I don't think it's a matter of, I don't know where to find the information. I just don't think it's gotten a lot of attention in terms of getting it done. So that's our proposal, and let's see how it works. But I'm also open to, and we discussed this with the budget committee, and the budget committee thought it would be a good idea to try this out this year. But happy to hear any other suggestions or feedback.
It's like Katie would request the floor.
Oh, Katie, go ahead, please.
Thanks. I know for the education committee, if this was assigned to one or two people, I think it would be a very superficial job and a lot of pressure. So I would rather have everyone in the committee like play a role. We do have 3 areas in education. We have education, youth, and the child welfare system. And I think that our statement seems to be fairly outdated, because I know I was on the Youth and Education Committee last year, and we never looked at the needs statement at all during the year. So, and it was just kind of barely edited when it was submitted this time. And I think it's really important for committee members to really understand, you know, what the needs and gaps are in the substantive areas that they're responsible for, and that it can also be something that, you know, can be shared with the community, because it's really hard to, you know, get your hands around, well, what's going on in my community district. So that's my opinion.
But I think, as you'll find, Katie, the longer you're in chair, the longer it is to have a group write a resolution. Typically it's 1 or 2 people that do it, and then it's part of a robust discussion at the committee.
Right. But it's not a resolution, it's a needs assessment.
It's being repackaged as a resolution, so that
right. Right, but you gotta do the needs assessment first, or it's kind of garbage in, garbage out.
Well, the needs assessment is something else. Like that you base this on, that's probably a different discussion, but actually writing the needs statement, I think you'll find it has to be one or two people who takes that information.
The final writing of it.
Yeah.
That I can agree with, but not the work that goes into understanding what's going
No,
on in the
absolutely.
district.
Katie, as Steve mentioned, I'm the one that made this sample resolution. We only made one for the parks section of the district needs statement right now because we wanted to make sure there was buy-in from the budget committee and exec. And so now that there seems to be, we'll go ahead and make sample resos for all the other 8 sections of the district needs statement for the committees to consider. Keep in mind, they don't always align with the breakup of the subjects in your committee names. So you may get 2, not just 1. But we're happy to go to your committee and just sort of walk your committee through this. And then so it can be the collaborative exercise you'd like it to be.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all right, we're gonna move on to committee agendas, transportation.
Wonderful. We have a not that robust agenda relative for the transportation committee. So yes, okay, first we have another curbside loading zone proposal for a supermarket. This is for the forthcoming Lidl Market on 3rd Avenue across from our other favorite grocery store in the neighborhood. Then we have, I don't think that's going to be particularly controversial. Should be a fairly quick discussion. Then we have, we're following up on the street renaming, co-naming request that we had in our last meeting. We have a resolution coming, proposing and supporting the co-naming. That may or may not be this discussion topic. We'll see how that goes. We then have resolution on hardening the pedestrian plaza at 33rd and 2nd. We've been having sort of offline discussions with DOT on this, and we thought there'd be value in just getting a resolution on paper to ask for it again. And then lastly, stop super speeders bill discussion. This bill in front of the city council would require speed limiters, basically like requiring drivers who at some threshold have had speeding violations, that there's limiters hardware set on their cars to prevent them from going over speed limits. Potentially discussing a resolution in support of that.
It does seem pretty robust. I guess it is, you think it's short enough for.
I think we're in fine shape. I think most of these are we're gonna speed through to, I'm pretty sure. I think we'll get through these pretty quickly.
Okay.
I don't think nobody's really complained to me of transportation committee meetings, to be fair. They have been on the longer side, but I think people have
enjoyed.
I think they've been meaningful. I don't know.
I concur.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think people that feel like we're doing.
Yeah,
good
right.
things.
Next is Parks, Landmarks and Cultural Affairs.
All right, good evening. So we will have a presentation from the Parks Department about the plan for the reconstruction of the park house on the east side of Stuyvesant Square Park. The former council member Carlina Rivera, she had approved the budget for this, which I think it's around $3.1 million. So this is something that we are excited to see this, because this has been outstanding for some time. Second on the agenda is presentation regarding 45 Tudor City Place window master plan. So that's exactly what it is, and we will listen to the applicant about that. And we will have the report from the Parks Department as always, and that's it.
Does anybody have to recuse themselves for 45 Tudor City Place?
I mean, not that I know of. I don't think anyone lives there.
Tudor City, we have a lot of people who live in Tudor City.
No, but in
It's not that
45, I
Yeah,
don't know if we have anyone in 45.
okay.
How much are they building? Like, it's a little shack, basically. Like, what's this facility gonna be? I'm just kind of curious. And by 3.1 million.
Star Square.
So yeah, this little shack, it's in the East Park and it's towards the south. Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that it could potentially be a restroom area.
That'd be
So
good.
we have to see. We have to
Okay,
see
all right.
what
It's more than
exactly
just
happened.
continuing the status quo of it being a maintenance storage area.
It's a restaurant.
It is a restaurant
It
today?
is a restaurant, yeah.
Yeah, it was,
Not
yeah, it
public.
was, yeah, it was previously a restaurant. Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's going to be.
today?
No, after the renovation.
Oh, okay, will be.
It will be.
Got it. Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
Cool, that's great. Yeah, that'd be good.
WXY.
Okay.
So it's gonna have a gold toilet?
Yeah, we hope so. Okay.
Restrooms are good. We need more restrooms.
That sounds very cold.
Public safety and sanitation.
We will have our second meeting on the Treatment Court Expansion Act. We were hoping that the Manhattan DA's office would show up last month. They said they can't show up till December. Then they told us that they might show up in December. So if I don't hear back from them with a confirmation on Friday, then I'll find someone else, because I think we should get multiple viewpoints. But we're slating it so that we can vote on it in time for the January full board meeting. And because after the January full board meeting, there's gonna be a push in Albany by the coalition that's backing the bill. So we're just gonna stay on schedule one way or another.
And Stu, they came to you with this as an issue, is that
Basically, yeah, the coalition.
the coalition?
And so as usual, we're trying to get, different perspectives.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting, I mean, everyone supports some sort of diversion, but there are some questions about specifics of the bill. And the district attorneys, including at a hearing in Albany, have not been, actually maybe in the hearing in New York City, but have not been very responsive. So I'm not sure if they don't want to voice concerns, but anyway, yes.
Okay. Budget and governmental affairs.
So we are going to be discussing two bills. Oh, sorry. So the first, we'll probably change this order, but so we'll have a brief discussion about open meetings law, and that relates to things that we've talked about before, but other things that have come up with the casino bid that we had members who were part of those meetings and have some suggestions. So we're going to sort of lump that all together into suggestions on how to address those things. And the main agenda item will be discussing two different Senate bills that are addressing energy costs. One is there's a bill that is going to trying to eliminate subsidies for fossil fuels. And the other one is looking at potentially creating a new rate class for data centers, because they were going to, as data center energy usage increase, we all pay the same amount, for their build out. So anyway, those are the things that those two bills are addressing. We'll be having a representative from Senator Kruger's office has confirmed they're going to be attending. She's the sponsor of one of the bills. And we are in the process of reaching out to Senator Gonzalez's office. She's the sponsor of the other bill.
We might change the order of it. When will we know whether?
No, we are changing. Yeah, because we have people coming from outside, so the open meetings is an internal discussion.
Okay.
The other one is, so we're just gonna switch the order. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, the OML discussion involves remote presence, or what is the discussion about?
It's the things that we've passed resolutions about before, like hybrid meetings, but also like things that happened during the casino presentation. The people who were supporting the casino could wear t-shirts that said whatever, I support the casino, but people who did not support the casino could not bring homemade signs because that was against the open meetings law. So things like that came up. The fact that you have to wait for 8 hours to find out if you're gonna be able to speak. Shouldn't there be a way to sign up, you know,
Yeah.
there are
there's a lot.
logistical things. So we're just trying to like figure out what the.
Okay, youth and education, Katie. Oh, you're muted, Katie.
Sorry about that. We're going to have a presentation by the Citizens Committee for Children on how education policy for New York City is made and implemented. And then the parents from the River School contacted me asking if they could present to the board on problems that they're having at their school. So they'll be coming. We're going to continue to discuss the Sauk school situation. And the other things are more, we could probably, they're sort of old business. We'll follow up on the presentation that we had at the last meeting about a guaranteed income program for youth who are transitioning out of foster care. And there's also there's a bill that was passed by the State Senate and Assembly, the Freedom to Read Act, that's on Kathy Hochul's desk now, and we were going to develop a resolution to ask her to sign that act. And that's it.
Then can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on what are the concerns from the 280 from the River School? They talked about them just in general terms.
With me, general terms, it's related to the leadership issues about IEPs not being fulfilled, a lot of staff turnover. So I don't know the details, but those are the general contours.
And
So they're saying that IEPs are not being provided the way they're supposed to be. I'm just trying to understand. That's all.
That what is in the IEP is not actually being administered. I think that they were talking about services, concrete services that were in IEP plans, like physical therapy, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, that then were not being provided to the children.
Has the principal of the school been involved in this, or?
Well, the issue is tied to their having difficulty with the leadership of the school.
And what do they expect CB6 to do about that?
I don't know.
I'm a little concerned that we're getting into something that's really, it's not something we can help with.
Right.
So we don't want to be a place where people come and complain. And which we
Sorry.
yeah, all right. We try to not be a place where people come and complain.
Well, I think that they're looking to us for, ideas about, where do we go? These are our concerns. Where do we go from here? I don't think they have concrete things that they are asking.
I would just coordinate with the CEC. I'm going to mention this to Craig, just that they're coming, so that the CEC is aware of it.
Why?
Because I think it's a policy issue that the CEC should be aware of.
I mean,
It's now a public
it sounds like a courtesy, and maybe they should be aware of it, but I think we want to act independently of the CEC.
And I,
That's the committee's
and
decision.
just to clarify, like complaints, yes, we absolutely want to hear the complaints about things that we can do something about. You know, the IEP, it sounds like that's something that's, yes, we can try and understand what's going on. I'm not sure complaints about a specific principle or something that we want to have our, you know, be part of our agendas. That's. So it's just, it will have to be, I think you just have to be very careful.
Well, I think it's also, you know, a good source of learning for the committee to understand, you know, what are the problems that are going on in the schools that are, you know, within our district. Like,
I
could
just
be that
want
IEP is not being fulfilled is something that's happening in other schools as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Think
That
so.
sounds like a very concrete thing that we could actually have a position on.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, it's, one of my kids had an IEP, so if IEPs are not being,
Yeah, we want to know about
that's
it.
important to know.
Right.
It's an individual education plan for someone who has a special, can I answer that? Alex just asked me, what is an IEP? And it's basically it's an individualized education plan where someone has a special need. If they're somewhere on the autism spectrum, or if they have some form of dyslexia, then there's things that the school is supposed to do to help those kids. And that's an important topic that's worth, you know, being informed about, I think.
Absolutely. It's just. Let's keep it to that.
well, I think what we learn, I'm not an authority on education or schools. But I've done a bit of reading on it and I've listened, and the belief is that schools are communities, or successful schools are communities. We heard that from the parents of Salk last night, for instance. And so, you know, we may not want to get into personnel matters, but on the other hand, every school has some kind of characteristic that seems to make it somewhat unique. And that seems to be responsible for whether it functions or not. And so I think we want to hear, you know, these concerns about the principal and what's going on. And it's not to mean that we should get into specific personnel matters, but these may be foundational questions for how you run an education system. You know, you don't run it as a business, and you don't treat everything as a widget. So I mean, I think we need to get to this, and we'll learn from it, and we may decide we should never get involved in this kind of question again, but it may prove something to be meaningful for us. So I would like to let's hear what the principal.
I take Stuart's point. The only piece of advice I would give would be to make sure that the parents who come to the meeting know that it is a public record and foilable, and anything they say to you is public. Okay, just be very sure of that. Otherwise, I take Stuart's point completely.
All right.
But it's very important that
Yeah,
they
I'll do
realize
that.
that they're not just coming to talk to have a chat.
Yeah.
You know, they're coming to a formal meeting, and if they say something about the principal, that could be on the front page of the New York Post tomorrow morning. Okay, that's all.
Right.
I've navigated these waters for many years.
All right, housing and homelessness.
So on Monday, we had a very great,
I think it's health next.
is it health?
Oh, I'm sorry, apologies, Rupal.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a short meeting. Still waiting to hear back from Bellevue if they're gonna be able to come present on it. Last month they had to cancel due to an emergency, so I don't know if they'll be able to come in December or January. So the first agenda item, the presentation from Bellevue, is a TBD. After that, last month we had Stop the Chop present. And so we're gonna have a resolution that we'll look at to see if we want to support it or not. And yeah, that'll be it.
Okay, great. Now housing and homeless.
On Monday, we had a great conversation and presentation by Coalition for the Homeless, so, the theme, presentations from organizations. Tentatively, we have Community Service Society coming to talk about the research that they've done into rent freeze and evictions. We're gonna continue our discussion of the housing study that we're working on, as well as updates that we have with collaboration with other community boards. But I do have a question for Gabe, because I know that we were supposed to talk about that reso that was passed in the land use committee. So I don't know if we should just add that to this agenda, if we're gonna talk about it at land use this month and then.
I was waiting for you to talk. I was gonna ask you the same thing.
I mean, I'm more than happy to add it on here. I didn't want to talk about it on Monday because we didn't have anything to respond to, but we can talk about it next month's meeting. We'll share some materials with the members of the housing committee.
So I think. But so this is December now we're talking about.
Yeah,
So, all right, so then we'll have something for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we would add a new agenda item. And I guess the housing committee would vote on the reso that the land use committee would vote on this month, right?
I think you'd vote or like you'd have a month
Discuss
to,
it,
yeah.
something, okay. Cause the land use committee will vote on this reso that was drafted. And then it's gonna be tossed over to us,
Yeah.
and then the full board, I guess, January, right?
I mean, is it time sensitive?
No.
It's not. And, it's a complex issue that
Right.
land use had a presentation. Like it can probably, it's going to be difficult to discuss without that same.
Material,
Material.
yeah, so, and we haven't spoken about it previously. I don't think anybody on the committee is
Yeah.
apprised of
Yeah.
this, so. We will add it for sure because it should be on there, but I might have to postpone one of the other two of the agenda items. So, or I guess I can coordinate.
Without we were supposed to get help from either Alex Boris's office or Kristen Gonzalez's office, and they were unable to attend in person. And so they gave us a kind of a small series of written questions, and so the kind of downstream robustness of having a presentation really didn't materialize. So I don't know if we want to wait until we can actually talk to them, or we just go with what we. I mean, the questions were answered, strong feelings were, elucidated. So I think we are in a position to have a reso.
I mean, we do have it, right? It's drafted tentatively,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so then, yeah, so we're gonna vote on it and then
Okay.
you'll have.
And then toss it over. So if you could add that to the agenda. for
So
this.
what we're talking about is the Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll add, right now, November's land use has discussion of Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act. We'll just add that same thing to your agenda.
Yeah.
And, if nothing else, maybe at the meeting, you could show George James's presentation
Yeah.
and have the materials from,
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to circulate a lot of materials to the members of the committee between now and December 15th. And ask that people pay very close attention to it.
you might want to watch the video together, just
You think?
because, I think so, because it's,
Did he share the presentation with us?
did he?
I need to look,
Okay.
probably, we do ask for it, but, we can share the video with your committee.
Maybe we
Of
could
the last land use meeting.
Yeah,
We can share that video, we can share this current one that comes out on Monday. And then,
That'll be easier. The Monday one's gonna be smooth sailing.
your committee can watch it, or are you guys thinking of watching it like?
I think they should watch it together.
watch it together.
I do, because it's,
Okay.
otherwise, oh yeah, I watched
Could
that,
we
yeah.
ask George or maybe somebody?
We could ask him to come again.
Cause he did, I didn't attend this month's land use committee meeting, but I saw that he tailored it to board 8.
Because we
So
didn't
maybe
ask
if he
him.
could come back.
And
next
tailor
month.
it to board six.
Right,
You
right.
could,
a good idea.
That way, that's also another thing that we could circulate to. the
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
So just a thought, but, if we could get him to come up, that would be great.
and if we tell them now.
We, you know, these state offices, they ghosted us.
They did, yeah. Okay,
So we'll ask George to see if he can come and make his presentation that he gave to land use, but that was based on board 8.
Right,
If he could come to housing
right.
and perhaps adapt his presentation to community district
Yes,
6.
which is great because I do have a lot of questions for him that I unfortunately couldn't ask, so this would be a great opportunity to ask.
Okay, so we'll put it, I guess, second on your agenda?
Yeah, and then I'll remove one of those 2 things. I guess I'll talk about it with Brian.
Okay.
I'll probably postpone the first one because we had a presentation this month. I don't want to double up on overall presentations, but
Okay, I'll let Brian know that some changes will be coming out of that.
thanks.
okay. Business affairs and licensing.
Business affairs, well, we're having a meeting tomorrow night. Only 5 items on the agenda. Oh. In terms of approvals, and all of them are pretty much routine. We'll be discussing item 6. And I think Gabe, it's also pertains to land use.
Yeah.
Do you know about the proposed change by the Brevard Owners Corporation to do some modifications to their POPs on 55th Street, which has been closed and under construction for at least 4 years now. I did notice going through the documentation, they also have a POPs on 54th Street, which, because it has architectural features that are hostile, you can't use. So I don't believe, and we're gonna be going through what they want to do, which basically put a cafe on that space, whether they are good community members in terms of their POPs. We wanted to discuss it now because we know land use is meeting on Monday. And if there's anything that comes out of it, I'll let you know, or maybe you can look at the video. Okay. The other thing we talk about is that the Cannabis Control Board, despite all the negative issues that we brought up, the community brought up, has approved Flintstone on 44th and 2nd for a license. Of course, that doesn't make the community happy or the members of the committee who are unanimously against this application. We're going to try to explore ways that perhaps we can revisit this with the Office of Cannabis Management, but we'll see where we go with that. There are some ideas we may have, which we'll try to flesh out. And the last thing, we're going to talk a little bit, it's not there, but it's going to be in the old and new business, how to even streamline our
liquor license resolutions.
Yeah, the applications. And by doing what we do in the full board, we'll put them all together. If they are of like to like, if not, then we'll make a separate resolution. Well, we're gonna try to flush that out in the meeting if we have time. And I think we'll have time because I don't think we'll get through this before the usual 4 hours when we have 45 applications. I'm not looking, we won't be seeing applications, I don't think, until January and February coming through from the DOT for sidewalk and roadway cafes. Also, we're going to be discussing what we should be looking at in terms of DOT applications. There's something we've noticed, although it's supposedly, these applicants supposedly vetted by the DOT. Both Ann and I, who are very sharp pencils, have, let's say, discovered that that's not the case. But there are important things that should be talked about. There are things, well, we're not gonna worry about it. And we'll discuss what's important, what's not important.
And the information about the city, proposed city laws.
Oh, right, I forgot about that. There is a bill that's coming before the city council to narrow the pedestrian pathway for roadway and or sidewalk cafes. Now, every street in the city has one of three designations, either neighborhood road, corridor, I forgot the other two, but neighborhood corridor is 8 feet. Next one's 10 feet, and if it's a major street, it's 12 feet. They want to make this all 8 feet. And I tell you, quite frankly, many of these streets that they would like to narrow down, they're already crowded. To narrow it down even more would be really an imposition on the pedestrians who are using that street. So today we were supposed to meet with some members of the city council, Keith Powers' office. They didn't, it was canceled, they didn't come. But we did have a chance amongst ourselves, with Ann, Seligman, myself, Jesus, to talk about the ramifications of narrowing the pedestrian pathway. I'm personally very, very much against it. Our streets are crowded enough without making it even worse by, I think, kowtowing to business interests. Now, we are business affairs. I'd like to see business in the neighborhood, but you know, it can't impinge on quality of life.
And do we know the timing of this? Like, it seems like we don't have the time to write a resolution. There's testimony is Monday.
Something like that. I think we could. Jesus, what do you think about getting a resolution together? After the meeting tomorrow?
It won't pass full board.
No. And we didn't find out about this till what, a couple days ago, 3 days ago?
A little bit more than that. We were hoping to get some input from the council member's office, but they took a little while to get back to us and then they canceled. We could maybe look to see what you guys have already said in, I don't remember how many resolutions you passed on outdoor dining. You know, as it was sort of coming into being, maybe there is something there that you can use. You could always testify on your own behalf as a member of your community, as opposed to a member of this board. And there you can say whatever you want. You could come up with something like some sort of quick reso that's not ideal to sort of just spring it out of thin air like that. And then see if it gets ratified at full board, but that's.
Yeah, again, we have some issues of timing.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of other ones that are related to outdoor dining that are coming up as well. So.
Yeah, they wanted to also include grocery stores to have sidewalk dining. I'm agnostic on that, but I'm not entirely in favor either.
And to be 12 months a year, that's the other.
That I think is a non-starter. The fact is that if you have sidewalk sheds and it snows, that really impedes the Department of Sanitation and the snow removal process. And that's the reason that it wasn't 12 months to begin with.
They're proposing that for all outdoor dining or for grocery stores to be 24 year round?
All, yeah, including roadway, sidewalk, and grocery sidewalk.
Anyway, well, you'll have your meeting tomorrow. We'll sort it out. Do you have a question, Stu?
I do.
Oh, okay, wasn't sure.
Just on the question of streamlining, what you're talking about is where, instead of bundling at the full board meeting, you're saying
We'll
a
bundle-
single resolution
Right,
for,
but we'll talk about each one and then we'll bundle them into one resolution.
so if
In the
some,
committee level,
I'm
at the
sorry.
committee, instead of at full board.
Right, I understand. So I'm just saying, if somebody does, and you've been pretty good at separating out the ones that are controversial.
But
So I'm,
yeah, if
right,
if
I'm
it's
not
not unanimous, then we'll separate that out.
at full board.
No, at committee level.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you get to full board and it turns out, because sometimes
How you
at
gonna
full board, there's a
disagree?
disagreement. With something that you guys all were in favor of. And so at full board, if somebody disagrees with one of the applications, then you'll have to amend the whole resolution to remove that application and make it into a separate reso.
Feels like a full board problem,
Yeah.
having a committee problem.
That is true in theory. I don't know how likely an occurrence it would be, but it is true. It's a possibility. However, if it has gotten into one of those resos, that means that the committee didn't find it objectionable at all. So any objections would not be in a resolution, even if it were a standalone resolution. So those would need to be amended in on the spot at full board anyway. So what we would have to do is just sort of strip it out, and the people who have objections at full board, assuming they are in the majority, would need to provide language on the spot for what those objections would be, or you kick the resolution over back to the committee, which generally with liquor licenses, you have some flexibility to do, but others you don't.
I'm just
I
saying.
can't, I
that
can't
we-
remember offhand where we've had an issue with the full board having a problem with any of the licenses. Have you? I mean.
I don't remember specifically.
Park Hotel.
I don't remember specifically, but I remember that there were times that the committee would, propose something and it was, I don't know if it was unanimous committee, but you favored it and then at full board, objections were raised and
I mean, I have a problem with one of these. I don't know if Arbicide is grounds for denying liquor license, but one of these, and I won't say publicly, consistently dumps grease in tree beds and has killed 2 trees on my block. So I was voting against. it.
Well, let's talk to.
But I mean, I'm not gonna, I just think we should come up with, you should have a plan, so if somebody does object to one of these items. You have a plan that you
Okay.
remove it from that item and you propose it in a separate.
We're gonna discuss this tomorrow night, and I'll bring that up and see if somebody
And
comes up with a resolution.
Then I'll say nothing more tonight,
Sorry?
then I'll say nothing more tonight.
Okay, all right, land use and water.
Okay, Arbicide. No, okay, so I've been going back and forth with the DEP. 2-3 months ago now, we had a great presentation. Maya and I saw that they're doing some tremendous work north of the ESCR. We've been asking for that. And they mentioned in that meeting that they would love some resolution support for some of their work. It has been a challenge to get the information, despite their enthusiasm. I should have enough information. Promises were made by tomorrow. I did make this clear that it will not be a reso now because of this. But I should have enough information to have a discussion and then maybe a reso in December. Regarding supporting the DEP and their north of 25th Street resiliency efforts. Maybe it's affordable housing. We already kind of touched on that. And so I'm a lot of double dipping this month. And then the pops with respect to not the open air cafe, but whether this is in sort of in violation of or the pops rules that we have laid out over the course of this board's tenure. I know this one is not the most perhaps popular.
I just have a question. So you said DEP wants a resolution in support of Esker and that?
No, north of Esker. So they're doing a lot of interesting work north of Esker, and they said they could use a reso to.
First off, they gotta tell us what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's been really challenging.
Yeah.
I took that in good faith and I've run with it.
Yeah.
I will get a reso over the finish line if it kills me, or we will have a flood. But
Like the EDC also mentioned this, like maybe they're the way, they're been more cooperative, like,
it's not a bad idea.
yeah. Anyway, okay, is there any old or new business? If there is, please raise your hand.
Very quickly.
Okay,
I'm very excited about the bike lane coming down on Third Avenue. I realize this isn't maybe the appropriate venue, but I'm extremely excited about it, so I don't want to talk about it. Just check it out. It looks awesome. It's on Third Avenue, the paint's down. It's great.
Is that why they, because I saw on Third Avenue the other day that one moving lane doesn't have any striping.
Yeah, they removed all of the striping and now they put almost all of the striping back.
Oh, they did, okay.
Including the bike lane.
Gotcha.
The green paint's down on part of it. It's not
Okay.
there everywhere, but it's awesome. I took it today. It took me half the time to get here. It does, it's amazing.
and it's waves.
I rode in
I
there
That- It's
too.
crazy.
Third Avenue just like
Crazy.
feels so much, like even in the parts where the bike lane is not fully painted and it's obstructed, it's like, it's just so much calmer on that whole block. It does not feel like a highway as much. It's transformative. We've been asking for this for longer than I've been on the board. It's amazing. Everybody should go ride it.
If you'd like to translate your joy perhaps into an item for the newsletter, if you can give us a paragraph, maybe a nice picture or something. Nice picture,
For these things.
focusing on what, if any, role we had to play on things.
What-
And if it's not very much, then just an informational one that, hey, it's open, it's great, it's this.
I will, I'd be happy to write that, but I'm worried for your inbox that you will get a lot of,
We don't have to then.
a lot of people who are less happy about it than I am. I'm already aware of at least one, complaint that.
It's not fully implemented yet. They didn't paint everything and there's a lot of cars that are still parked in it.
Yeah,
Yes, although I will say the part where the green paint has gone on, which is about
Mhm.
up and from the 20s,
Yeah. it's
upper
halfway
30s
there.
to like 42nd Street, that part was like actually like almost entirely clear of parked cars. It was before the green paint lane that people were confused, which I think is kind of reason. It is a bit confusing, to be fair, as much as I want to be annoyed at them.
It was.
We can think about it, because we have to put the newsletter to bed early, this month, because the office will be closed the day before and after Thanksgiving. And then that's the end of this month, right? When we come back, it's December, I believe, so.
okay. If there are no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further
You have a
business.
hand from the baby.
Oh, sorry, Katie, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I was just wondering, I saw that there was an email that was sent out about relocation of the Sauk School and the possibility of the police academy building being used for that. And Gabe was copied in, so I didn't know, is the land use committee going to be looking at that at all, or?
Well, Katie, we looked at it a lot previously and there's been no action. And so I think Jim Collins had some opinions about it. But I don't think it's gonna be a very big discussion because it's really, it was an idea, but I don't know that it's come to anything.
I don't think he offered an opinion. He just said there was a reso that we passed
Oh,
about.
no, he's also provided some additional information.
Oh,
since
that
then.
might have come later.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we can look into it, but I wouldn't hold your breath.
Okay.
When the CB6 office was located there, for those who remember that, we were in their basement for a little while for reasons I'm not gonna go into. We met, I talked to them to NYPD about that, and their response was like, we desperately need this space.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's still used. At the time, we thought they were gonna move and it's still used. But, okay, seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock. Thank you.